Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're. Welcome to the It's Not Dead Yet. Despite we'll tell you why we've just been away and everything in a minute, but welcome to the Family EV podcast. I'm John. I'm regular EV dad John, and with me as ever is from live from Chicagoland in an unpainted office. Although clearly you decided you like the color for the back, but you just couldn't commit to it for the side. It's Joe.
How you doing? I feel bad that we have lied to both listeners. We told them months ago that we are going to consistently send out podcasts, and we have not done that.
A couple of reasons. Let's get into the reasons why. It's been a disaster. Well, not a disaster, the wrong word. We put my father-in-law into a care home, and these things are not. Did not go gracefully. Um, just first of all, and here's a life lesson for a few. I think I told people have been DMing me, and I mentioned to a few people. It's a horrible situation. The poor guy had early onset dementia, but a month ago, which makes me a little bit more than a month ago, he was still taking my daughter to school. He took my daughter to school the last day before her graduation. I say graduation, that was from pre-K to kindergarten, not exactly, a massive life marker, but it's hugely important to her because it meant she was leaving her little school, and she starts kindergarten next week. He was taking her to school. He was going to his swim class, and he was going to his lunch club and having a perfectly normal. He had a few issues, and a few memory issues, but he was fine. Then he got COVID, and that kind of accelerated to give him a huge amount of agitation, and he had a small fall. But he came back from that, and he went to a reunion with some of his brothers from Theta Chi. And then he went to visit while we were on vacation with a Tesla Model Y on the East Coast. There's a video about that coming at some point. He had a real fall in San Diego and had a TBI. He literally fractured his skull and broke his eye socket and had a brain bleed. Uh, Physically, he's doing fine. He can walk 150 feet quicker than he could before. The only problem is he doesn't know why, he doesn't know when and where he's going or what he's going to do when he gets there, or sometimes what his own name is. He's having great conversations with his wife, which is positive, except she's been dead for 6 years. So, yeah. Joe, health advice. I know we're not professionals, but to avoid that situation, double down on your red meat intake. That's what I'm saying. There is no getting old is not for the faint-hearted. Poor guy. So we've been dealing with that, and we've been in San Diego and transporting him back here, and it's been a time, Joe. It's been a time. You and I have been speaking. You've been in Florida and doing one thing and another, and we're recording on a Friday night, which is not normal, but this is literally the first time when he's now in a place and safe, and my wife is away for the weekend with a kiddo. She's driving the transit van all the way to Emencore, Seattle, 16 hours of driving. Right now, I'm going to fly out to Portland to help them drive back on Sunday night. But yes, this is the closest to normal we've. But enough of me, Joe. How are you?
Less eventful. I've just been at the Mouse House in Florida for a couple weeks. Needed to get out of Illinois for a little bit of a battery reset. Back in the office now. My tax season's about to start in a couple weeks, so had to get out while I could.
So we do actually, and we don't normally do this. We do have a structure to this. So it goes without saying we are going to talk about the EV tax credit. We're going to talk about the infrastructure bill as a whole. So that's going to come. It'll happen. I'll put it in the notes. We're going to talk that. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. But before we get to that, I thought we'd just touch on a couple of points which I found interesting, and we've not really talked about this much, Joe. So I've got some interesting things for us to think about. I'm going to start off with infrastructure, if that's all right with you.
Go for it.
As you know, it's always dear to my heart. I love it when things are being dug up. I love the sound of concrete being poured into the ground. We did a small road trip very small road trip as a family in the Audi in the e-tron, which right now Joe is looking at a really good. Is looking like a really good investment.
Yep.
We'll come back to that one. We'll come back to that shortly. We're
Yep.
buying.
We're in the world of investing in vehicles.
Yeah, that just
New ones.
that's a stupid thing to say. But anyway, we took last week. Last week, or was it this week? I'm not sure now. Might have been Monday. It was either this Monday or last Monday. I can't remember. I think it was this Monday. Yeah, it was. It's been that kind of week. We drove down to Harris Ranch, which is only about 150 miles away. But we had to take a puppy of ours down there for somebody to take a look at, and we were going to look at one of theirs, just a thing we do as a family. And so we drove down to Harris Ranch. We've not seen these people since COVID. Well, my wife hasn't. I haven't. If you ever hear about me running around California moving dogs around for my wife, this is what it. Well, we all did it. And what normally happens is myself and Adrian will meet halfway between LA and here, and we'll usually meet at an In-N-Out burger because that is his treat. Is an illegal In-N-Out burger. And don't tell anyone, but sometimes he has two because his wife doesn't come up. Well, we ruined that because we decided, or they decided, she wanted to get out of the house as well and see my wife. They've not seen each other since COVID. And so we met at Harris Ranch, and which is basically halfway between LA and the Bay Area. I had to go the wrong way down 101 to Salinas, Joe, because I had to get a VIN check on the Audi because by the CHP because my car is still not legally registered in California, even though I've put 10,000 miles on it. I know that because it wants a service in 700, and uh, and I've owned it since. How long have I had that thing? I've had it for months now. I've had it since.
Yeah. Was April-ish?
Yeah, must be. Yeah, I got it.
March,
Yeah,
April? Yeah.
yeah. It's temporary. Its extended temporary registration ran out on the 4th. We're recording this on the 12th. But somebody fat fingered the entry so that the DMV in California required my electric car to have a smog check. And they haven't, and the people in Georgia where it came from haven't been able to work up their way to reverse this one. And in the end, we just so I got a VIN check at CHP in Salinas. It was exactly 200 miles. I got in with 3%, which is exactly how you should do. Mrs. Regular EV was not happy about that. I didn't tell her until I said, "Oh, that's really good. We made really good efficiency." And she said, "Oh, really? What does that mean?" I said, "We've got 3% left." I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's fine." The car charged like an absolute beast. It charged to because I was charging it to 100%.
Did it pass the smog test, though? That's the big question. I mean, Volkswagen has a history of not doing so well at these.
I licked the tailpipe of myself. I licked Fatty's ass. Oh, that's disgusting. I apologize to myself for my. Oh, it's disgusting. Oh. So, um, anyway, so we did that. The car charged absolutely great. I did say this was about infrastructure. So as you drive in to Harris Ranch on the right hand, Harris Ranch had some of the original superchargers. It was there, Fort Tejon and somewhere else were the original ones, Hawthorne and Fremont. And so they've always had a presence there. They have 30 Tesla superchargers that go all the way around the outside of the car park now, and then the 6 Electrify Americas. They're adding another 100. I think it's 100 superchargers at this site. Now, let's be clear: the I-5 corridor is a huge thing for Tesla drivers just because of the concentration of Teslas that we have in Northern California, or California as a whole. And so this is big infrastructure.
Well, actually, on top of that, we didn't discuss this when we were planning out this call today. But did you see the first half of the year numbers for California? I guess the Model Y sold something over 40,000, and the Model 3 sold 38,000, the next closest vehicle was a RAV4 at 30,000. So the number one selling vehicle in the state of California is a $66,000 plus SUV.
Which currently receives no rebates because there's no federal rebate. And also, the California program probably ran out of money again. I think it runs out. So you might get it later, but yeah. We'll come back to that at the end. Let's not spoil our powder that one because I think it's worthwhile discussion on that point. But the annoying thing was the Electrify America has got 6 charging spots, 3 of which were out of order.
Yeah.
Actually, 3.5 of them were out of order. By half, because on one of the ones that was working, one of the handles wasn't.
Unfortunately, this is my biggest concern with buying another CCS car. Even though I've owned the Volkswagen and I'm probably going to jump in and get another CCS car, is I can't tell you how many times on road, like how many road trips I've done where at least one of my charging stops, there's 4 chargers, 3 of them are broken. Can you imagine if there was other vehicles there? You know what I mean? I'm lucky that there happened to not be anyone there at that time.
Yeah, and even worse when somebody with a Chevy Bolt turns up and wants to charge to 100%. I mean, that's the the situation is getting better, and we've had the announcement from EVgo. They're putting in 1,000 at pilots. We already talked about that at the pilots and Flying J's. They just put an order. They just confirmed that order for piles, which is what they refer to the actual charging stations with Delta Electronics. They've confirmed that order, which normally we probably wouldn't get an announcement, but with the shortage of components and supply chains, they're making sure people know they're going to deliver this. It's obviously crucial to the success to GM. They've tied themselves to EVgo, so they need it to be a success. GM's determined to be an electrified organization sooner rather than later. And now, especially we've got the Lyriq, the Escalade, and the
Blazer.
Silverado coming through, or the Ultium battery pack vehicles, and the Hummer. Obviously, they're going to need lots of chargers for those Hummers. I'm going to leave that one alone right now. I never thought that the fatty would be considered efficient. Anyway, they're just one of those things. But let's move off that. Because Joe, I think we've got a road trip. You and I are going to have a road trip. Whatever vehicle you buy, well, if it's a road trip worthy vehicle, we'll come to that. Because if you buy a Mini, we're not doing it. Not happening.
I'm going to buy a Mini in Hawaii and road trip it back.
Does it float?
I don't know.
But I got to find my map now. There was an announcement this week that ChargePoint and Starbucks have installed the first of their chargers.
Were these the ones that were partnered with Volvo?
With Volvo and Starbucks, yeah. From Seattle to Denver, and which is basically the 84 for those of you playing at home. It's 90 from Seattle to Ellensburg, then 82 to Kennewick, and then 84 to through Boise to I think it's Delco. No, not Delco. It's kind of that Twin Falls Hayburn bit, and then the 84 drops down into 75 north of Ogden, and then through Salt Lake City, Provo, and then a road we all know well, 191 from Provo and Spring Fork to Green River, and then I-70. So they, I'm just going to see if.
So they don't like I-80 either, is what the method of what that map is.
Well, first of all, they skirt I-80 because obviously they're dropping in off the north of that. So I'm going to give them a pass on that one. That I-80 would be a diversion, to say the least. I'm just seeing if they've put when I looked the other day, where's Provo? There it is. When I looked at Provo the other day, they hadn't. That's the one in Walmart. Let me get rid of all the. I don't need J772. I don't need those or those today. Ken Griff, Valley University. It still says coming soon. Um, they look like they're the standard charge point, the 250s, which do 62. There is a tell. Sometimes you can tell in the pictures with the cabinet that shows that they can be linked. This doesn't appear to have those, and they're not showing up on the ChargePoint app yet either. So, but one assumes that it's going to be 62 and a half. Maybe it'll bridge up to 80. We'll have to see. Um, but yeah, I think Joe, maybe with the next car, we should drive from Denver to Seattle. That's in one day. That's the thing, because I think it's like 1,300 miles or something like that. I'm not.
Is
I'm not.
it's at least a scenic drive. That's for sure.
It's
It's actually beautiful.
it would be a stunning drive. Um, it really would. I mean that's the thing. I-70 up um uh to Salt Lake. I mean that is such a mixture of um a mixture of uh, sceneries,
And Idaho and Washington are, yeah, pretty
yeah,
incredible.
and then I through Boise, and then as you get into the Pacific Northwest, I mean it's 1,300 miles. I know I can do 1,000 miles a day in the e-tron. I did that single-handed, so it's 19 hours and 40. If you're driving it, boys and girls, it's 19 hours and 40 minutes without charging. I'm not going to give that one to a better route planner right now, but I would assume 3.5 hours of charging, maybe a bit less. But yeah, so that's interesting. What else was it? So let's talk. You went to the Rivian event recently, with the cargo carrier.
Yeah. Rivian accepted, or sorry, Amazon accepted their first deliveries officially of the Rivian vans at I think like a dozen cities across the country. So I went to the Chicago one, and yeah, it was pretty cool to see the van. Got to go full walk around, sit in the driver's seat and stuff. Air conditioned and heated seats, like very driver focused features that historically people have always maybe judged that Amazon's not the best company to work for. Well, I can say that if you are a driver of one of these vans, you'll be as comfortable as any delivery driver there is. That's for sure. I got to speak to the engineer from Rivian who kind of described that this was the middle size van. They're going to have a larger and a smaller, and they do hope to someday sell it to the public, but they don't have a timeline on that yet because they have to fulfill their Amazon orders first, which Rivian's got, a lot
Does
of
it does it have
stuff.
an onboard bathroom? That's my question.
It does not. You don't know how many comments I got on the tube about that.
There is. I would say about every 2 months, an Amazon driver will throw out a bottle of pee at the top of my driveway. Seriously, it's a. I mean, before COVID, frequently, if we actually were here to reserve, we'd always tell somebody if they were, would you like a cold water from the fridge or use the bathroom? But now it's just pee in a bottle and throw it out apparently. But yeah,
Well, that's on
um,
Amazon. They should throw, plastic commodes in the back of the van, and that, there's certainly space for it. Yeah, back there by where like the fire extinguisher is.
it is a. I think I've seen them on the roads around here. Obviously, it's a good looking vehicle. It'll be interesting to see how they get on. Be interesting to see how people adapt. Range anxiety is a thing.
So, Amazon had Rivian software limit the vehicles to only 140, 150 range, which according to engineers, like somewhere around like 70% of what it actually could do. So that means they're probably capable of around 200 miles if they were unlocked and actually sold to the public, which I mean, the Rivian charging curve at least is pretty solid, so it
And
could work.
did they say if I don't is the charging curve different for this vehicle? Have they
Yeah,
modified
they
it?
Amazon also wanted them to limit it because they don't plan on DC charging any of them. They plan on just the overnight level 2. But they do have DC charging because all the components come right out of an R1T. So it's the same battery, same charge port, all that sort of stuff just, plug and plays into this vehicle.
No, and they'll get a longer life out of it. They'll hold, by only ever, just AC charging it, they'll get better life out of the battery as well, holding that buffer as well, 30% buffer. It'll be interesting. We'll see how they get on. Walmart, of course, has ordered canoes, um, so we'll see how that progresses. Let me look at my list. So you mentioned the R1T. Its competitor, well, not just its competitor, but the F-150. They've increased their prices substantially for the 2023 models. But now, am I right in saying that Mini, Hummer, and Polestar have also increased their prices?
Right, and technically Rivian did as well, right? Rivian did a $7,000 price increase back in like February.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I think in May or June, Hummer raised their truck by around 6,500, and now Ford just announced this week that they're raising anywhere from 6 to 8,000. In particular, the base model is a $7,000 price increase. So, kind of in the same game as Tesla. They made the $40,000 truck, albeit maybe just a couple of them, and then that truck disappeared forever.
Well, here's the thing. I, no joking on this one. Clearly, they left money on the table.
Right.
And that's it's a capitalist market, and they have real, they've made real investments, and they need a return on those investments, and my
Yeah, I
401k.
don't fault them. I mean, I haven't built an F-150 in a while, but I'm sure if you build a crew cab, 4-wheel drive
Well, hold on.
F-150, yeah,
My other point is that the component costs have gone up since people were able to order those vehicles. Inflation's real. Um, it's especially real for them because they're buying metals and metallized products, and those things we only have to look at the market. So there's only so much they could do. They had to make modifications because of the microchip shortages, which still amuses me, but we haven't got time for that friggin' podcast. Um, and so I think a mixture of inflation plus they've also simplified, and if we stick on Ford for a minute, for 2023 there is going to be fewer options.
yeah,
They
less colors and less trims, or same trims but less options. Correct.
Yeah, I think, and Tesla showed the way on this. You could still only get a Tesla in 5 colors, not 17, like you can a BMW. I'm sure the BMW is coming even more than that these days. But simplicity gets things through the factory quicker. Um, and so that's a good thing. Also, and I find this interesting, Ford is really encouraging you to order directly from Ford without ordering. So you get more options. You can get the truck you want if you order it through Ford.com, but if you go to a dealer to order it, it's limited. I'm
Which is
I,
hilarious because that's the exact opposite business plan of Mini. If you go to a Mini dealer, you can spec way different options than you can on the Cooper SE online.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Um, and then yeah, but I mean, some of these things, we speculated that we didn't speculate, we damn well called it out that Elon was raising prices in the expectation that a credit would be retroactive. Well, obviously, that's not going to happen. But like you said, he also sold more cars than anybody else.
Yeah.
So there's clearly a demand for it. Before we get into your 3 car situation, which intrigues me, let's also just say, because of the credit, and we'll get into that as well as in more detail. So you can now Lucid and Rivian are doing binding orders so that they qualify for the credit.
which I'm still there with this credit. There's so much gray area. I'm not understanding how that's possible. So I don't see where, I haven't seen the language in the credit that says if you order a car today, you'll be grandfathered in to still collect the old credit.
It's not just a
Allegedly.
reservation; it's a binding non-order. So it will be grandfathered in. Apparently, some lawyers that got paid way more than you and me have said this, and clearly they're going to stand behind it because remember, this is money on the. No, this isn't money on the HUD. This will. So it's going to be interesting because they're going to have to issue a VIN number before January the 1st.
Because it's for the old tax credit, right?
For the
The
old
current
tax
one.
credit. And I remember when I filled in my tax credit, I had to put the VIN number in.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless you're just going to
so
be able to collect that credit in, say, 23 or 24. I'm not, I don't know.
we will. Joe and I aren't. Well, you technically are kind of a tax professional, but we're not
I do
in.
corporation taxes, so I don't know anything about this stuff. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
Joe. You know what? If I was doing anything, the IRS has got 82,000 more employees. Audit Joe. That's what I'm saying. Audit Joe. Make his life complete. And then Fisker sold unrelated, but obviously related. Fisker sold out of the Fisker One, which was 5,000 of the first editions, essentially.
Which
Which
question? Is Fisker going to do this binding contract thing as well?
apparently that's what they're doing.
Okay.
Apparently that's what they're counting on for a car that uses Chinese batteries and is going to be made in Austria.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
will we will see. It's going to all shake out over the next. We're recording this on Friday.
Friday,
Biden,
August 12th. Yeah.
yeah, Biden apparently might sign this today. So we're going to find out over the next couple of.
Which is why I've ordered two more cars today.
Hold on, wait. Don't. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Joe has been ordering cars today. Let's let's get into one car that hasn't massively increased its prices and has actually come out with a cheaper version, which is the. Do you remember it, Joe? The Volkswagen ID4.
I feel like I used to own one of those. Yeah.
So in the past couple of weeks, they started production in the US at Chattanooga. They also announced a $37,000 version with the smaller battery,
62 kilowatt hour.
which is that the same battery size as is in the ID3 in Europe? No, I can't remember.
I mean, I would think it would be, right? Because, I mean, I don't know where they're getting the batteries from yet. I know they were building batteries in, I think, Georgia, but I don't know if that is that happening yet. I wonder if they're still shipping them over from Europe.
I'm not sure either now. No, these are all local the whole point of Chattanooga was local batteries. Um, for whatever reason, in my mind, again, and I'm not a journalist, I'm an idiot. My brain tells me that actually there is a different size than I don't know why. I thought it was 66. 70, a cheaper 45 version and a more expensive 77. So, oh, and a 60 and there's a 64 kilowatt and a 60. I don't know.
Uh,
Anyway,
oh, it is a 60. There's a 62 in the ID3.
is
That is
it?
one of the options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, these are the locally produced ones. So the interesting thing is that the ID4 might actually qualify, but depending on where the
Might.
content might, depending on where the materials come for the battery. So it will qualify for half of it because it will be made in North America. But whether it qualifies for the second half of the 7,000, 7,500, depends on the content of the battery. So we will. These are interesting times.
In the
But
next 4 months, we will learn more information about where automakers get their parts than we've ever known before.
yeah, they what do you call the sticker? It's got a name in this country. You
The
call it.
Moroni, right? On the stickers, they say where the car is built, where the engine and transmission come from, what percentage of parts come from U.S. and Canada, and what percentage parts come from the largest foreign country that parts come from. So, like in the case of like the Nissan Leaf, 55% of the parts come from Japan, and that's it. They don't. and then they say 25% of the parts come from the US and Canada, they don't fill in what the other 30% is.
Um, that be true. I'm trying to. I'm looking for something right now. Hold on, interior. So no, 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 no. So they've made a couple of other. They haven't updated the. Let me see if I can find ID for Chattanooga. I'm trying to see because there was an image in the press releases.
Oh, you mean for
Um,
the console?
yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
haven't seen that either, but I heard.
I saw a picture of it. It was in one of the releases, and naturally, of course, now I can't find it. Um,
I think I just found an image of it. Maybe not.
image. I wonder if I can Google
Oh, it
ID.
looks like the. Oh no, that's not it. No, no, no. Oh, yes, it has like the sliding kind of. It's more like a traditional cockpit. So it has an armrest, and
Oh, Joe,
then
send me
found
a.
it.
What do you? Where? Are you, how did you find it?
I just my exact Google was ID4, like ID.4 US console. First thing that showed up was VWIDtalk.com, and the title was a video of Americanized center console. And so I opened that up, scrolled down about halfway, and the brown
Oh, I'm
seat had
looking at the picture. Yeah, so I'm looking at the picture of it right now. So I'm looking at the same image on. Oh, I think it was ID. It was at Green Car Reports. Yes. So, um, it does away with the little
credit card
armrest,
holders. Yeah,
which I personally thought and still think are about 3.5 inches too low down um, for somebody of my height. I'm long in the back, so my shoulders start higher up than average people. But you know what I'm thinking at this point, Joe, don't you?
well, I think this is just an Americanized thing because a lot of Euro cars have these adjustable armrests like ours have, or mine had. And this is much more of the, any other normal car you'd find over here would have this larger kind of cockpit style console.
You call that a cockpit style console?
Where
Interesting.
there's no, like in our car, there's essentially a pass through in between the seats down low. That's very rare in a regular, like if you go back any Ford, GM, whatever car.
Oh wait, you think that's solid? You think they got away with the little thing where my tray is?
I think so.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. I can't.
Unless there's like a store, maybe there still is a shelf down there or something, but um,
They take a picture from the other side, but the angle they no, it doesn't join up. It's still the coloring and shading is so just darkened at the bottom. It doesn't go all the way to the end. The front section of that where the drink holders is appears to be exactly the same as it was. The only thing that seems to be different is that the bit that cover. You know how we have the little slidey uppy thing.
yeah.
This has the arm thing. I look forward to seeing one in the flesh. And then the natural question is, and I did this with my Mini, I think it was years ago. They've changed something, so there's some console changes, and you could actually just buy the parts. The fittings were the same, so we'll see. Color me intrigued, but if the credit holds, Joe, and here's the question: would you be interested in a standard range, the 208-mile version?
Potentially, I mean, because the way we road trip, we just use really 100 miles of range. So as long as the charging curve is nice, which they're claiming 125 kilowatt charging, I thought I saw. Don't quote me, but
They said 100 up to 175, although Kyle says that caps out at 20%.
oh,
Um,
they're claiming 175 out of these packs, out of the small pack too.
no, they haven't said they didn't publish. the
Okay.
maximum charging speed for the smaller pack. But
Yeah.
mine assuming it'll
I
be
saw
one.
125 somewhere, or at least I know the ID3s in Europe get 125. So,
Okay.
maybe that should carry over. So, I mean, that's the charging curve. If that's similar to the charging curve we were used to with our vehicle, then, that's a great car. And if the credit still is there, you're talking a $30,000 SUV for the same, for as well equipped as any other 30,000 SUV would be out there for the gas model. So you have
Yep.
an incredible price point.
Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. It goes without saying, and I'm just going to read this. For 2023, VW has added more standard technology, including Volkswagen's Intelligent Park Assist, a 45-watt USB-C charge port, good for laptops and tablets, and a 12-inch infotainment. Well, we already had 12-inch. Do you think they've just again simplified? They said, you know what, we're just going to standardize on the 12, and they've just ditched the 10.
Right,
I think
which is great. So I mean, so the where I look at it is say this is going to put some serious pressure on, in my opinion, on Ford, Kia, Hyundai, because if this does get the credit, well, I guess the Ford will probably get the credit too. Either way, you're talking, 10 grand cheaper than the Mach-E base range, and pretty similar range. And then the standard range, Kia and Hyundai, I think are around 220, if I remember right, something about that. And those are not going to get the credit because they are Korean built cars. So now those become what, $12,000, $13,000 more expensive. I don't
Mm-hmm.
see the reason to get them. This ID4 still come with 3 years of free charging. Hyundai's come with 2 years. Kias get pretty much nothing. A couple charges, that's it. So the value of the ID4 continues to shine through.
Uh, so let's talk about um uh let's talk, Joe, about you've ordered three. So Joe and I spoke this afternoon briefly. I was running into Costco alone, so it was inexpensive. Um
Did you get a Christmas tree?
Did I send you a picture? Oh, you saw that on Facebook. They were putting Christmas trees, fake Christmas trees. It's August the 12th, I think. Yeah, it's on my personal Facebook, which Joe can see what the Anyway, I digress. Bob bloody humbug. I'm going to get the first one in of the season. I was expecting to have to wait a little bit. Anywho, that notwithstanding, um, so Joe wants to buy Joe wants to buy a car and take advantage of
Need to
the.
buy a car. Need to buy a car.
Sorry?
Right now I've been borrowing from my niece a 2006 Honda Civic, and it's the DX, which means as stripped out as possible. Doesn't even have an aux connection. So I have AM FM. That's it. So that car that was supposed to be a 1 month borrowing because I was supposed to get either a Lightning or an Ionic 5, and that's been well documented on the podcast. What a disaster that whole shopping experience has been. So last time we talked, I think I mentioned I ordered the Blazer. We'll see when that ever comes up if I end up taking delivery of it. Yada yada. And then when we talked earlier today, I was kind of intrigued by the Volvo cars. Kind of always liked them. When we went to that event out in December in California, I left the event most surprised by how good the Volvo was. I expected, we all expect a $150,000 Audi RS e-tron GT to be outstanding. We don't expect your family people mover Volvo XC40 Recharge to be a Canyon Carver. So, moral of the story, I was able to find between Denver, Detroit, Traverse City, Indianapolis, I found 3 C40 recharges that had not been claimed yet. Two of them were black, so I don't like black cars. So there's one white one that happens to be in Chicagoland. I went ahead and claimed it. It'll be here in 7 weeks. The fine print, though, says dealer decides final price. So I have a strong suspicion that that will not be my car. But on the positive, I spoke to Polestar of Denver because I left voicemails with Detroit and Minneapolis. This is at like 3 o'clock on Friday. They don't answer their phone. So Denver got back to me. They have a white dual motor base model. So none of the extra packages, that is on a ship, will be here and will be at the dealership in Denver in 2 to 4 weeks. And that comes out to be $8,000 cheaper than the C40 with the same powertrain. So that's most likely the route I'll be going. And my methodology for going with those cars is, if you go to Consumer Reports, they posted a list of cars that might qualify for this new credit and then cars that most definitely will not. So, as we'll get into in a bit, the cars have to be built in the US to even be maybe considered for the credit. Well, we know the Volvo is built in Belgium and the Polestar is built in China. So, those cars are safe that they will get the credit this year and will not get the credit as of January 1st, effectively, boosting their resale value by the lack of a credit on a new car.
Now, this is where Joe and I disagree. Okay? Because it will not change the value of the vehicle. Let me explain. Sorry, Joe. New cars are not an investment unless they are supply constrained like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. No one ever thought that a Camry was an investment opportunity unless you were selling it to an up and coming Uber driver.
I do have a story about that, actually. Before we became friends, I was going to take delivery of a Model Y in September of 2020.
By the way, people,
And
I just found out we're friends, so our relationship just changed. We're seeing this as it happens. I'm like,
that
oh.
that vehicle was 48,000. Then I optioned the white seats and the blue paint. So I was at $50,000 for that vehicle. To build that same vehicle today is $67,000. Now I know we're in the weird world of car prices just going berserk, but had I bought that car back then, I say that I was happy that the ID4 basically became a free car to use for a year. Holy cow, would I have profited, you know, 14 plus $1,000 off of owning that car for a year and a half.
These are unprecedented times, and don't get me wrong, we're doing this right now. I'm going to keep the names out of it, but we are selling we've had the e-tron here for a couple of months now. I had some things to get done on the wife's Volvo XC60, which is a 2015.5. That is going to be leaving us in the next couple of days. And one of the online people is paying me just under $12,000 for a car that we paid $23,000 for. London's going to be 6 this year, so 6 years ago it makes no difference. With 108,000 miles on the clock. That's lunacy. But then not only that, and for reasons I don't understand, my father-in-law's car, unfortunately, he's lost his license and he's in a care home, so he's got to go. Now he paid, according to this, his loan was $38,000 when he bought this Pacifica plug-in hybrid, thing. And if you Kelly Blue Block it, he's underwater. All of them say it's not worth more than $22,000. And yet one of these companies is going to pay $31,000 for it. And the only reason I care about this is that because it doesn't matter to me. It's in his name. It's not affiliated with me. Poor guy's in a care home. He doesn't need a credit rating. So we're not going to bankrupt him. We're just going to call the bank and just say, you need to repo this and eat it because the guy hasn't got anything. You can't, all his income is now protected. He's, in care and everything else. But, these are interesting times. We'll see. Let's not dwell on that. So anyway, you ordered 3 cars.
So as we spoke earlier, we're not advising anyone go buy a car to flip it. And in fact, like we said earlier, if you happen to be buying a car, make sure you're buying a car that should the market turn around and actually normalize, you're still going to be happy owning this vehicle. So in the case of me, I've always been a fan of the Polestar. I'm very happy with it. And, to those who might say, why not get a Model 3? I love the Model 3. I think it's one of the best cars made right now. But that Model 3 is around $57,000 for the dual motor long range, a little bit smaller battery technically than the Polestar. this Polestar is going to be, because it qualifies for a tax credit, effectively $15,000, $14,000 cheaper. So, we're talking a large sum of money different for the car. So, yeah, that's just not the price I want to pay.
Yeah. Um. Um. Mm, okay. I need to update. As of, I'm sorry, the standard version of the ID4 says that 170 kilowatt DC fast charging will be optional.
The world of subscriptions, right?
Well, how much are they charging for BMW seats? Hot heated seats? I can't. I was like, that's just crazy. It was $400 to just buy the function outright, but if you did the math, it was like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. These are interesting. So what? So hold on. So what are the cars you're looking at, Joe? The Polestar.
So the Polestar 2, just the base dual motor, and then the other car was a Volvo C40, so that's the coupe style one, and that's the plus package. So it's kind of the middle trim. It's not the fully loaded Ultimate. So, and they're the same powertrain. So it just becomes a game of picking apart the options and seeing which one's better. And then there's that peace of mind where honestly, I think I'll probably end up with the Polestar just because the price I see is the price I pay. I can't have the dealer won't be pulling any fast ones of deciding, oh, actually, all of our cars come with some said protection package or whatever garbage they want to try to sell me on. You know, that's the nice thing of buying online. You get, through these direct to consumer dealerships like Lucid, Polestar, Tesla, to kind of have the sales process nailed down. Rivian.
Yeah, I'm. You the long. I gotta tell you. Please note that during high demand, the expected time might use. Okay.
Oh, and so you mentioned price difference. Yeah, so what I'm getting is, I guess, a 2022 that's on a boat almost at the port. And so the price I was quoted, don't want to get it wrong. Um, da, 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 da. So it is 49.9 for the dual motor, 1,300 for destination, and 1,200 for white. So because in 2022 the base model was black. This year, now for 2023, the base color is like gray, and it ends up being like $2,500 more expensive if you build the exact same car, dual motor, and add white. So they effectively built it into their model year rollover of around a $2,500 bump.
Yeah. It's
And I have those diamond wheels that are, quote, back ordered and impossible to get.
yeah. These are interesting. May you live in interesting times. Um. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just having a crazy thought, Joe. I can't help myself. What I'm thinking right now.
Oh, I know what you're thinking already. You're thinking that we both fly to Denver and the first testing of this car involves Seattle, doesn't it? Uh,
Yep, it does. It does. Oh, you know what's crazy, Joe? And let's just talk briefly about the rest of about the rest of this program because it is interesting. There's so much more to unpack in in this. Solar credits, battery credits are being extended. The 30% credit are being extended. There's infrastructure. There's infrastructure in this. It's a really. I mean, Joe. Look, you and I, we found this out when we spent time with one another. We believe in different politics. We're on different sides of the political spectrum.
correct.
Um, you're right, and I'm correct. Um, How does
We
this
are
make?
both green. That's where we unite.
Well, I think this is the thing is I think we both look at this from a sustain. It's interesting, they call it the inflation. What do they call this thing? The inflation protection bill, whatever the fuck you call it.
Well, one thing I think we can agree on is the old program was broken in the fact that the three American companies, by definition, if you want to call them that, Ford, GM, and Tesla, were no longer getting a credit before it was about to expire theirs. And now every foreign brand was going to be able to sell cars in the US and collect a credit. So
Yeah.
some sort of change needed to be done. With what they ended up doing, I think everyone can agree that they never get it right. But but there definitely needed something to be done.
I agree with you on that. Um, I Where I'm a little unhappy is that we're still putting a 25% tariff on Polestar vehicles because they come from China.
Mm-hmm.
They're still getting a 25% tariff as an import because I do think and I get the whole thing. China's bad, yada yada yada. Um, but every one less fossil based car is a good thing. It doesn't make sense to me to be taxing that vehicle. Don't give it a rebate. That costs money, but we shouldn't be taxing them as well. I think they should look at making an exemption for those. And I understand if they make it, you don't have to give a credit, but you don't have to tax it. Does that make sense?
Well, right, and then in by comparison, they're taking the exact same battery and exact same frame and electric motors, shipping it all the way to Belgium to put it in the Volvo, which is the same, skeleton, and then ship it all the way over here to the U.S. So,
Well, they're not wrong. Volvo is going to be building their car, is building EVs here as well soon.
soon,
Um,
yeah, the 60, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
the XC60 is going to happen. Yeah, because the C40 and XC40 Pure, whatever it's called, they're all Polestar twos.
right.
Um, just different ride heights and software uh, screens. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. I'm not. So on that level, um, it doesn't make sense to penalize in that situation. The benefit of people driving electric cars, and Joe, you're on the other side of this. I I actually think that it's fair to call this an inflation um, tool. We were having we've had a good, we sold the company, and I'm not worried too much about cash right now, which is great. Although I think I told you earlier on, I am going to return to normal work again at some point soon. I had a positive conversation about that today, and it's still a pretty good life. I'll be back to running around the world eating steak dinners on someone else's dime. I can live with that. But um, I've been unemployed. I haven't been collecting unemployment, but I've been unemployed since the end of March, the beginning of April. But our costs haven't gone up as much, and one of the reasons being is we don't pay for gas in this house. Since I became unemployed, we've not had to buy a tank of gas. Actually, that's not true. We bought one yesterday because we had to fill up the transit for Danica's trip. But we charge at home off of solar panels. Yes, I buy some energy from I'm not 100% solar, but that is that has been a positive for us. And Danica, it's been harder for her to get used to an electric car because now we only have electric cars. Yes, we have the van, but we're not taking that van to Costco with all the dog crates and everything in it. It's taken her a little while to get used to plugging in when she gets home. Because hers is a little bit thirsty or thirstier, she has to plug it in.
Oh, I know the Polestar and Volvos are right in that Audi efficiency chart.
Not as bad. They're not there. It's not. They're not at 2 miles per kilowatt. They've got two and change.
Low twos. That I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fatty is Fatty gets thirsty. It charges so quick you don't care.
Well, I think
Uh,
with the ID4, I babied it everywhere because if I stepped on it, there was not much there. I think now when I'm going to have a dual motor Polestar, I'm going to use the accelerator pedal a little more.
yeah. Um, I think I will say whoever advised this when we saw this bill come out, breaking the 7,500 into where was the car manufactured, stroke assembled, and the contents of the battery. I will. No one was expecting that kind of granularity,
Right.
and I will say I think it was really well thought out because it's not just about today. It lays out a framework for the next 10 years. It removes the cap, but it encourages investment. It doesn't just go to consumers and say, "Oh, you're so good. Look at you. You're going to get $7,500 knocked off your car. Aren't you good?" No, it says, "Here's the money. They incentivized it before. Tesla wouldn't have existed without that credit. That was it. And also, let's be clear, Tesla was also getting credits on the other side for all those zero carbon emission credits. But
Yep.
this isn't about that. Um, this incentivizes manufacturers to build batteries in this country, which is good for resiliency. It's an extra key strength. Look at all the battery manufacture that's taking place in China. What CATL's been doing. They're about to start putting CATL blade batteries into Tesla Model Ys in Germany in a couple of days. What happened to going with 4680 batteries? That everything's there's a state of flux. But also, where is this going to? And you'll only get the credit if they come from this country. The materials. Well, we don't make that much lithium and cobalt and nickel. Or our trade partners, where
Which
we
basically is Chile and Australia.
yeah. The crucial thing is we have legal conditions on standards like we do when we buy food. If you want to buy beef from Australia, it has to come from certain husbandry standards. You can't put antibiotics in the beef. Da 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 da. They're imposing standards, and so this stops the rate. This incentivizes a race to quality and sustainability. That's got to be a good thing.
100%. Yeah.
That is, and that's why I like this. No one expected it. It says, well, the number stays the same, but they have to make investments. And the thing is, because it's a 10-year bill, companies can make an investment. 10-year treasury. People. I just think this was well thought. Do I like it? No. Do I
Well,
think it was well thought through? Yes.
the one major part that is still a question and technically hasn't been answered, so I can't attack anything. On the used car side of things, it's smart because for $4,000, it has to be an under $25,000 used car. You can get $4,000 off if you buy it through a dealer. And the reason it's smart to do it through a dealer is because I could buy a car, sell it to my dad, and he sells it to my mom, sells it to my brother, right?
Well,
And
and also the car can only be sold once. Can only be sold
also right,
secondhand.
the VIN's tracked. But on the new car, it still says purchase from a dealer, and they have not confirmed nor denied if Tesla, Lucid, Polestar, these
Well,
vehicles are considered to be
I
dealers,
I think the good news is the federal government gets to make that decision, not the
right?
states. And currently, we don't have an automobile dealer network lobbying group at a national level.
Right.
It'll be, and also I don't think this is going to be a value. First of all, on the second hand bit, it doesn't matter because we're not going to see any $25,000 Teslas anytime soon right now.
Right. We're talking bolts and leaves at that price
Yeah,
point,
we're talking bolts and leafs.
which
We're
is
talking,
okay. I mean,
we're talking
those are good cars too.
yeah, which are good cars. We're talking plug-in hybrids. We're talking, Pacificas. Um, so I see, and also, you've got the now. Let me say this. I find this interesting. I agree with the caps. If your family's pulling in $300,000 a year,
Oh,
and the
right. Yeah.
maximum value of the vehicle is $80,000 for an SUV, I actually think that that's appropriate. I know everybody's situation and circumstances are different. I'm also well aware that I bought my car this year because I wouldn't qualify for it next year. I knew this. I knew it. Um,
I think the 80 is fine. I think the 55 comes in a little low, just
I
because we see so many good SUVs that are, the 80 is not touching them. But when you look at the BMW, Tesla, even some of the specs of I don't know if you consider the Ioniq 5 or Kia EV6 as SUVs or cars. That's a gray area too, I guess. But if those are considered SUVs, and the Mach-E for that matter, those or as cars, I mean, they would be over the cap in most trim levels.
I'm looking right now. There is at Phil Waterford's Manteca Ford is a Mustang Mach-E California Route One with an S, and I find this interesting. I'm looking at it I'm looking at it in two things. So, um, VIN number 42. I just want to make sure I'm looking at the same vehicle here. VIN number. Oh, that's a different number. That's 14. All right. Well, you get a pass on that one. Um, I thought they were doing a $10,000 markup as an option, but anyway, I'll give them a pass on that one. I am sorry, Phil Waterford. I thought you'd done something bad. There's a disjoint between the thing, but the question is, how are they going to define SUV? Are they going to do it
Right.
by weight? Because there's not that big of a. I don't know how. So a Marquis weighs 5,100 pounds, right? I happen to know that because I just Googled it because to see if it qualified for Section 159.
A quick fact: the regular gas two-door Mustang has more ground clearance than the Mach-E.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. So,
and the Polestar has more ground clearance than most SUVs.
all right. So the Tesla Model Y weighs between 5,300 and well, it weighs 5,712 because I'm guessing the 5,302 is a smaller battery rear wheel drive only, and that doesn't exist. So 5712. The Polestar's 5100. Sorry, the Marquis 5100. That must be the single
Base
version.
battery. Yeah.
But it's under 6,000. What was the other vehicle we just mentioned? Ionic.
Oh, the Ioniq 5. Yeah.
And an Ionic weighs up to 5,600. So now a Model 3 long range gross weight is 5,000 pounds. So I don't even know if they're going. I don't know how they're going to. They're going to. It'd be interesting to see where they decide to bring that line on.
Dual motor Polestar 2 is 5735.
Yeah.
So, right.
So let me bring this back, Joe. We didn't know what was going to happen, but
There
I
will
think
be, I'm sure there'll be follow-ups in our future episodes. And
there will be.
the best advice that I could give to anyone out there that is car shopping, if you are shopping for a car that currently qualifies for the credit, go get it.
Right now,
And if you're shopping for a car that currently does not get a credit, maybe wait.
Joe, I'm going to do you a favor right now. Hold on. I'm going to see if I'm going to see. We'll close this out, boys and girls, shortly. I know we're running long and we're waffling, but isn't it fun? Haven't you missed this? Um, I'm just going to see what's in stock across North America, Joe, because I'm doing this for you because I love you. Okay,
For which vehicle?
as I just found out that you and I are friends. I didn't know that until now. 9.1.8. California. I'm gonna set it to I'm gonna put it to 2,000 miles. You know what? I'm gonna do the whole country, 4,000 miles, all of it. Save. Okay, Joe. I'm gonna filter this down to just the electric models. Just that one, and that one, and that one. Okay. Okay. Apply. Show 850 results. All right.
And while you're
Joe.
searching, this is a good reminder to anyone out there that is not subscribed to either of our YouTube channels or to wherever you get your favorite podcasts from. Make sure to like, subscribe if you find the content helpful, and that keeps us going. Actually, there's
Joe.
lots of things that keep us going, but that's one of them.
Right now, at the dealers, there are 234 Audi e-trons in the country. And I'm just saying, Joe, that right now, I'm just going to see if I can get this based on price. Hold on. Sort by price, low to high. Now, that would include the GT, but because I haven't filtered those out. But there are there's at least 2 pages of Audi e-trons under $80,000. Okay? 3 pages possibly. What I'm saying, Joe, is get an Audi e-tron. Is it a little bit rich for you right now? You could get a premium in Minneapolis for $67,000. That's including the destination fee. That's in black with the black interior, with the standard equipment and a black cloth headliner. That's the only optional equipment. But I will tell you, Joe, it's the fastest, most comfortable sofa you'll ever drive, and it charges like a beast.
I made the comment earlier about how I regret not buying the Model Y, when I did. Obviously, looking back, it's great that I didn't, because YouTube would never became what it was, most likely, had I not gotten the ID4 and all that stuff. But the e-tron was certainly another car that can be thrown in that equation, because I'm not sure if you remember, but a couple years ago, you could get an e-tron for around $55,000, because they were, I think, $60,000 sticker.
No
Dealers
one
were
was
marking
buying them.
$5,000 off
I
all
remember.
day. And I know actually Kyle from Out of Spec kicks himself to this day, because he wanted that car at that price. And yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, we've been talking for an hour and 8 minutes. You've been listening for at least some of that, and for that we apologize because you're not getting that time back. But we hope you had fun and possibly learned something, gave you something to think about. I've been John. You'll find me on YouTube at Regular EV Dad. This has been Joe. You'll find him at JKEV. We will be back soon. We're going to try and get back into a more regular cadence, so the travel's about to happen again. But we're going to try and get better at this. We're trying a new system. So we don't, by the way, as you're seeing this or listening to this, we don't know if this worked, because we're trying a new platform today.
And if this didn't work, we'll start the next video with the first time didn't work, so we're trying it again.
Oh my God, I hope not. All right, on that bombshell, please like and subscribe. You'll find us on all the platforms. You found us already. Just hit that follow button or whatever version you've got on Spotify or whatever else you're using. But other than that, thank you so much.
Take care until next time.
Have fun.